First of all, thank you very much for coming here, because without you it would be a very disappointing meeting. I would be standing here all alone and it would be a disaster. So thank you very much for all coming, and it's a big pleasure. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Tomsk International Science Program, what the aim is, why we are doing it, what the philosophy behind it is, how it is a little bit constructed. I'm not going into too many details. If you want to have more details, you can always contact the people here and we will tell you more. But let's go to the major things that we want to know. And I will give you a small example of how we are teaching, for example, and a little bit how you can apply multidisciplinary research to achieve something. So again, thank you to everybody here that is sitting there, because they're a great team, so thank you very much. Tomsk International Science Program, how did it start? Well, number one is that in general, you can say worldwide, you know, the society and the governments, they ask innovation and internationalization of education and research. You see that almost in all, you know, plans of governments. They want universities to become more connected to the society, to the industry, etc. And basically, I think we all want that. Because, I will come to that later, one of the frustrations of also students can be that they do their best to get a diploma, but what does it bring if you have a diploma and you don't get a job? So it is very important to have an education which has an impact, that at a certain moment you can use your competences and skills and knowledge to start to work in the society, for everybody. So it has to be meaning. So, and that's precisely the background also of these demands from government and society in general. It's, okay, you're the experts in education, you're the experts in research, but bring it to us and make it more profitable and useful. Okay, now why innovation? Why do we really need to change something? Because many people say, we're doing very good. We're giving fantastic lectures and everything is perfect. But if you look really at the essence of everything, we know that active learning, whatever that may be, I'll come back to that in a moment, active learning is much more efficient than passive reproducing. I give you a very simple example. I think we want to have students that are really critical, not students that say to me, yeah, professor, you're right, professor, it's okay, professor. No, I'm just reproducing what I'm saying. I want to have feedback from you and to learn from you and to together to develop knowledge and start to understand questions and the in-depth problems. The problem starts already, you know, with our attitude to small children. Imagine that you have small children. They're sitting in the car and they're asking all the time questions. Papa, what is this? Papa, what is that? And at a certain moment we start to say to them, keep your mouth shut, stop asking all these questions. This is the most stupid thing you can do, because the children have their natural interest in everything. You have to do the opposite. You have to promote them, to stimulate them, to ask even more questions, because they're asking you to explain things. So I'm sitting in the car, imagine in the morning bringing my daughter to the school, and she asked me all these very difficult questions. And then she was 5, 6 years old. She said, Papa, can you tell me why is the sun so warm? Or can you tell me, Papa, why do people don't have pink eyes? Now, if you start to think about it, this is a very difficult question. It's not so. So I say to her, Anna, wait a moment. Let me think about it before but the foolish thing I could say, come on, don't ask these questions, especially as a defense mechanism, because you don't know the answer. So they tease you all the time, and that's with students the same. And if you just give a lecture like this, like I'm now doing, and ask people to reproduce what I'm telling you, the bad news is that you only memorize maybe 20 or 25% what I'm doing, even if I'm a fantastic lecturer. So you need to use other ways of teaching to make it possible for people to memorize more. And the only way to do that is by active learning, that you are yourself as a student part of the process of learning. And then it becomes, you know, something that really inspires you and it works with you. So other issue why we need to modernize education is that, you know, the amount of knowledge doubles every 4 years. So imagine that you have a 4 years bachelor and you say, okay, you have to learn this. But after 4 years, you're already behind the knowledge because the knowledge is doubled. So you cannot define on forehand precisely what people have to know because the knowledge is something and the facts and figures are something that is in development. So the crucial thing is that we have to teach our students how to learn and how to keep on learning because you're always behind the facts. And one of the most difficult things is that there's enough information, there's enough data. The crucial thing is, how can you decide what is right and what is wrong, what is reliable and what is not reliable? Think about Mr. Trump saying that this is fake news. Yeah, he says that of everything that he doesn't like. But, you know, what is the real answer? It's not so easy if you start to think about it. So another thing is, you know, the society demands generally an effective competences, not real diplomas. They want, okay, you have a diploma, that's okay. And that can be a guarantee of a certain level. It should be a guarantee of a certain level. And that's of course what we also aim to do to achieve. But behind it should be the competences, skills and knowledge that you can apply. And here you can see it. Generally problems are not monodisciplinary. So if you have a study in physics, okay, it can be nice to study physics, but there are not so many problems that are only physics. It generally is a mixture of many things. And so one of the things that we want to teach people, not to know everything, that is impossible. We cannot give you an education where you know everything in physics, everything in biology, everything in mathematics, because you have only 4 years. So you can never get the same level of a person that studies only physics or only mathematics. But we want to teach you how to work together with people from other disciplines. And generally you need to know something from the other disciplines to be able to communicate about it. And that's precisely what the program is. It is creating people that have learned to think in different disciplines, maybe specialized in one of them, but are able to communicate and to work together with people from other disciplines because the problems are multidisciplinary. So this is what we call transdisciplinary approach. In the past we said interdisciplinary, between disciplinaries or multidisciplinary, and now we have a new term, it's always like that. It's transdisciplinary, so that we work together with experts, but the experts can talk with each other. I'm an example of that. You know, I've done a study in biology. I have my master in biology, my master in physics, in history of arts also, by the way. And then I did quantum physics, some kind of nerd. And after that, I started to work in the hospital and got a degree in clinical physics and saw patients, became head of a diagnostic laboratory. I did my ENT. And by that, I was able to understand the questions from the clinic. And I could use my technology background to solve problems and to communicate with doctors to be able to find solutions. I will give you one example of that in a moment. Okay, so we need to transfer our knowledge and competences, etc., also to the industry and in society. And that's where the program is about. So it is getting away from this monodisciplinary thinking and at the same time not sacrificing, you know, the quality and the in-depth training. We want to have a top level. It's not some kind of compromise. So, well, TSU and Maastricht University are already a long time, they are partners, they work together. And together with Professor Jumpkin, we started the double degree program and we encountered all kinds of problems. And based on that and together with the societal needs, we thought, hey, maybe we have to go in another way. And I started to talk with the vice rector and with the rector, and we started to get this idea that maybe we could do something that we have some experience with in Maastricht. And Maastricht is a new university, 50 years old, almost, a little bit, but it's quite a successful one because it uses this active learning approach. And there's a lot of research in that area. And it applied that precisely in this science faculty. So instead of physics and chemistry, etc., they made a new bachelor program, the Maastricht Science Program. And we thought, hey, this is interesting. Maybe we can use that also in Tomsk as a blueprint for our development at our university here in Tomsk. So then we had a visit of all the people that were engaged in this project, and said, let's have a talk, with the dean of this Maastricht Science Program, and maybe he can tell us what are the pros and the contras and how he had built it. And he was, of course, a very enthusiastic person. Why was he so enthusiastic? Because from scratch on, in about 6 years, they built up a bachelor school with about 600 students. And it became the #1 bachelor program in the sciences in the Netherlands. And be aware that the Netherlands has a high level in education. All our universities are in the top 200, and more than half of them, 8 out of 13, are in the top 100. So we are a very good education climate. So if you become the #1 in the sciences in the Netherlands, it means that you're a good education. And so he became very proud about that. And the key factor behind that was this multidisciplinary approach. And on top of that, making a liberal arts approach. So instead of, just one kind of curriculum, it's some kind of individualized program. I will show you in a moment. So talking with them, with the education experts and people building up curricula in Maastricht with quality assurance and all kinds of modern technologies to evaluate the quality of your program, we thought, hey, this is an interesting program. And we started to talk with the rectors and the vice rectors, and we said, okay, what do you think about this? And they said, wow, that would be very nice. It's quite a challenge because it's completely different from the traditional ways that education is built up in Russia. But let's do it because it's promising, and we do it completely in English. Like we do it in Maastricht, completely in English, so that for the students you create an easy access on an international level. And even more important, you create access of international students in Tomsk. Because if you give it in English, it's so easy to get students from abroad. And then you get automatically what we call an international classroom, where students from different cultures and different backgrounds work together in teams to solve problems. Because it's a problem-based learning education principle. And that's why you not only use different disciplines, but also different backgrounds. And you learn to talk with people that are raised in a completely different background, which is very useful because we're not talking about the Netherlands or Russia anymore. It's more about the world nowadays that we talk. Everybody's traveling all around. And building that is okay. So we built a number of, let's say, keystones of the project. And we still thought by ourselves, okay, let us try to do an honors program which is based on more or less the same education principles and see how it works. Because for the students it's completely new, but also for the teachers in the program it's completely new. So you have to learn to do it in a different way. And that's why we started this honors program. And today we have 2 presentations of a project that these students did to give you an idea a little bit how things work. So, and meanwhile we applied also for a big grant. We didn't get the money yet, but I think we have good chances to get it. And if we don't get it, okay, bad luck. But if we get it, then of course the sky's the limit and we start drinking. But okay. Tomsk International Science Program. Basically, it's a 4 years selective bachelor program with a multidisciplinary approach. For every student, you make a tailor-made program. So together with his academic advisor, he can choose a pathway where he combines all kind of, let's say, stones from different disciplines. So you can combine things from chemistry and physics, etc. There's no easy package. It's not possible to say, okay, I do something very easy. There's no way. It should be a high level because the outcome of the program, outcome measure that prove the quality, is that the students at the end have access to the best master programs in the world. That's what we achieved in Maastricht. So students go to Stanford, they go to, recently also a number went to Cambridge, where there's a very high selection criteria. So it can be successful, it is successful if you do it in the right way. So there's a personal guidance for every person, and it's a liberal arts of science program. That's pretty new. We have liberal liberal arts programs in the social sciences, but not in the basic sciences. So together with a number of experts that support the program, we started to build it up. And it is quite a big challenge. So how is it? Well, we have a 4 years international bachelor program completely in English. That's unique in Russia. So at this moment, it will be the only program, bachelor program, completely in English, where you are taught in physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. The target group, what kind of students do we want? Not students that cannot choose. They say, I don't know, maybe chemistry, maybe math. No, we are targeting for students that generally have quite a very clear idea what they want to do. A number of students that applied were very impressive, that they already had a very specific idea what they want to reach later in their career. There was one guy who said, this is interesting. Now I can do my ideal. I want to develop prostheses for handicapped people. And to be able to do that, I want to have a broader background than only medicine or only engineering. Here I can add the different Lego stones to my education to make that possible. And there are other examples. So the start is in 2019. We start this year. And there will be a minimum of 50% of international students because we want to have an international classroom. There's an international faculty. We have a number of people that are here at the University of Tomsk, but at the same time we're hiring in people from different universities that come to teach here. There is of course entrance exams which are standard for Russian students and for the international students. And we have an interview. We talk with the students to make it sure for them also that they know what they start. Because on the experience in Maastricht, we know that it's not so difficult to start, but it's more difficult to stay in the program. So in the first year, it starts to become very challenging, and you really have to work very hard to continue. Okay, what is this active learning? What is it precisely? Well, it's developed at Maastricht University and McMaster's in Canada about already 40 years ago. And the principles are now applied worldwide in many universities, in Harvard, in Johns Hopkins, in MIT, etc. So basically, like I said before, traditional teaching is not very efficient. And it is based on what we call problem-based learning. So you get a case, you get a problem, and the students are just confronted with a problem, a case, and then they start to brainstorm about whether they know the solution to questions that are related to the problem. Of course, they don't have the answers, but by brainstorming, they activate their existing knowledge. And you will be surprised how much people generally already know from secondary school, etc. And by talking about it with each other in a group of 10 students, they start to identify which things they don't know. And that is the best motivation to go to the library and to find out how is the answer to these questions. And after having studied on a personal level, they come back and they start to talk with each other again, giving feedback about what they have learned. And they find out that they have different opinions and different findings because there's different sources. And then by this process, that is more or less an iterative process, they develop knowledge and they get the answers at the end. And then the tutor is there, an expert is there to help them to be sure that they got the right answers and that they had been deep enough, in getting their knowledge. So this process of problem-based learning works pretty well, also in a multidisciplinary approach, especially, and in the basic sciences. So what we do with that is we prepare a new generation, not just having learned something by heart, but to address problems. Because from the very beginning, they get a problem. and they have to solve the problem. And that's where they become trained in working together with other people to solve those problems. So this curriculum structure is based on the 4 pillars of physics, biology, chemistry, and mathematics. And you can make a combination of the different disciplines and make your own program. And of course, that is not so easy when you're young and come from a secondary school. So there's an academic advisor, a personal advisor that helps you to make the right choices, that fits, with your interest and your ambition for later, what you want to reach. So these things help together. So you have this academic advisor that helps you, and it's preparing you, to have an access to the best masters in the world. And because everything is English, you have access very easily to many places. So you see here the typical situation where you are in a group. So it's not some kind of, massive event where 100 students are listening to a teacher, to a professor. No, it's small groups of 10 or 12 people, and slowly you start to learn to work more and more efficient, always in groups, and to address the problems that we want you to learn. So there's a standardized procedure. Everybody gets a different role in this group. One time he's a chair of the discussion, the other time he's the secretary to make annotations, and so on and so on. So we are building the facilities for that. At this moment we will use the facilities that you can see here, very modern, and also in the economics and management building we will go. And in 2020, most likely we'll have a special building which is also the social environment of this group of international students. So, after the bachelor, where are we? You get an internationally recognized bachelor, an innovative degree with a tailored curriculum that fits to your personal talents and possibilities, with the possibility to enter the world. At the same time, the other way around. Students will participate in Tomsk and create this international atmosphere. So I think that if we are successful, and we do our very best to be successful in this education, then this will be a blueprint for much more education profiles in Russia and in Tomsk State University. So because you can use the same mechanism for all kinds of other studies. Okay, so that is basically a small overview of what we're going to do. Now, why are we doing that? I will give you a simple example. There is one huge problem that I want to address. There's one huge problem is that there are so many people that fall in society. And this is a problem that is recognized by many disciplines. And it has been studied by many people to try to find out how they can prevent it. Because it's important to prevent falls, because maybe you do not know, but when you're at an older age and you fall, 70% of the people that fall come in the hospital and die. 70%. So that's why people that are old are so afraid to fall, because they have seen so many people around them that disappear. So 36,000 people have a fatal fall every year in Europe. 36,000, that's quite a lot of people. Well, we have a lot of people in Europe, but still 36,000 is a lot. More than almost 1.5 million people fall and come to the hospitals. And the older people, we have about 2.3 million people even go to the emergencies. So falling is a very important thing. And if you look at the literature research, you find out that all these different disciplines have studied that enormously, but not with many answers. So here you can see a boy who is looking at virtual reality, and he's climbing. So he thinks that he is safe, he's climbing, because he is in his virtual world, and there he goes. He's falling. So it's interesting to find out, why is this guy falling? And, as an expert in the balance system, I say, yeah, of course he's falling. Do you have any idea why this guy is falling? It's a little bit strange, eh? You just look at some image and yeah, you must feel that you're falling, not? But apparently you don't. He's a healthy guy. Now the answer is relatively simple, but it took a lot of time for research. You know, the balance system, I'll tell you in a moment a little bit more, the balance system is only made for fast changes of your balance. And if it's a slow change, you don't feel it. Like with many changes, you know, in life, if you have a slow change in sound, it goes very slowly down, you don't notice it. And when the smell changes very slowly, you don't notice it. So the brain is more interested in fast changes because that has an impact. So here he doesn't feel that he goes forward, he doesn't see it, and his proprioceptus that feels the muscle activities is not fast enough to correct yourself. But there's more something in your head. We have many things that control balance, of course. Muscle, skeleton, the brain, whatever. So how do you have to address that? And that's why I have a small experiment. So I asked the vice rector to be my victim.
You want me to fall?
Never, because I will be there.
I hope so.
So, if you come a little bit in the middle so that everybody can see you. We're very brave. Thank you very much. So now you have to hold this. It's just water, so it will not. And you have to hold that with your flat hand. Yeah, very good. Perfect. So like that on the other side.
It's wet?
Yeah, it's wet. It makes you awake. It's okay.
It's wet everywhere?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
It's wet everywhere. I'm sorry.
So you have to put your feet in front of each other, like this, to really balance, yeah? Put them in front, yeah. So balance. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
No, wait, just stand like that. And now, no, don't walk. Just stand like that. Put your head up, yeah. Okay, and now you close your eye, and you keep your balance. Yeah, close your eye.
I cannot.
He was falling, you see.
Even with open eyes.
Yeah, okay, try again. So, close your eyes. So I let him fall to the right side. Is it reproducible?
So actually I feel the
Okay.
the electricity.
Yeah, put your feet in front of each other. Yeah. We try again. Close your eyes.
No, it is, I don't need to close my eyes because I do it with open eyes.
Okay. Now you walk over a rope as if you walk over a rope like that, and just walk like this, like this, foot by feet. Yeah, like that. Very good. So it's a remote control for vice rectors. You know, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We give a big applause because this was a very brave. So it's interesting because what I do, I use a very small current. It's only 1 milliampere.
But I felt it.
Yeah, you felt it. Yeah, because you're a very sensitive person. So by that, you know, I can influence something. What am I influencing? This is an interesting thing to find out. And, well, of course, I know the answer. Basically, what I influence is the balance organ that is in the inner ear. So you have special organs that work like accelerometers. They feel the motion of your head. And that information is used for balance control, but also for image stabilization. I'll show that in a moment. So we have two of these organs, and here you can see a nice experiment. There were two medical doctors, ENT doctors in Sweden, and they said, okay, let's have a look what happens if you do an anesthesia of the labyrinth. So you can do that relatively easy. You take an injection, and then you do a transtympanic through the tympanic membrane. You do a small injection. They do it all the time, ENT doctors, a little bit aggressive people. So they do it first on the right side and then on the left side. And they put a little bit of lidocaine in the ear, and that works as an anesthesium. So, and then the victim, the other ENT, is laying But after about 10 minutes, he started to feel some kind of motion sickness. And he said, what is going on here? And what you see is that this young guy has changed in someone who is about 20 years older. He behaves like his grandfather. So look at how he comes out of the bed. You see, very careful. He can still stand. So it's possible to walk and to stand, but you're not in control anymore. So you miss the fast detection of motion, like the guy, was not paying attention to that, but the fast motions you miss, so you really have to walk a little bit like a robot. Okay, and then because it's an acute anesthesia, I also get nausea, like motion sickness, so it took about 45 minutes of vomiting. It was not a very pleasant experiment, but we learned a lot of that. And we learned that if you lose the labyrinth, it has a very strong impact on your balance. Here you see a small child that has a normal balance system. So his balance organs work perfectly. Now we look at the child, this is only 1 year old, to 11 months, so very fast girl. And now we're going to look at a girl who has a cochlear implant, is deaf, but at the same time the two labyrinths do not work, the two balance organs. And look at how it's more than 2 years old. See, he has no good balance. And ultimately, after a lot of training and physiotherapy, it will become better and better. So you can imagine that this is a big problem. And here you can see a boy who got antibiotics, which kills his labyrinths, his balance organs, and he will never become normal again. And here a lady who had the same problem, she walks like a robot, as you can see. And she's very afraid to fall. So one of the reasons why you get all kinds of problems is that you're not only losing your balance, but you also lose image stabilization. So we do a small experiment with yourself. Please look at your finger, your own finger. And you move your finger like this. And try to see if you can still see your finger. And you see when you move very fast, it becomes a blurred vision. It's not possible. Don't be shy. Just move your finger. Yeah. No, look at your finger. It's what we call active learning. So you put... So now you look at your finger and you see that it's impossible. But the funny thing is, now you look at your finger again and you shake your head. And you see that if you do that, you can do it in any direction, and you will find that, hey, I can still see the finger. It's amazing. And the reason is very simple. You have these accelerometers in your head, and if you make a very fast movement to the left, your eyes move to the right. So it's like you have now in cameras and video cameras, image stabilization. But it is an old thing. We have it already since humankind. We have it, and animals have it, everybody has it. So thanks to the fact that you have these balance organs, you can jump and you can walk and still see. But if you have no balance organs, the image starts to move like that. So, and that's what you can see here. So when you move, you stimulate these balance organs, and your eyes are stable in space. So when you lose these labyrinths, you lose a lot of things, but one of the things that you lose very dominantly is balance, and you can't see very well anymore. And the bad news is that many ophthalmologists don't know that. So there are many patients that go to the doctor, say, I have a problem with my eyes, and he says, your eyes are perfect. Go back to the psychiatrist. So they don't know. Okay. So is that quite often? Well, in elderly, more than 25% of the people have severely impaired balance organs. So that's why they fall. And in the total population, it's about 0.3 if we take everybody. That's a little bit the same as deaf people. And what are the major complaints? Well, falls, and you can't see very well with your eyes. And what makes you fall? The answer is, well, in 70% of the cases, the balance organ. So then the question comes, if you have a researcher, multidisciplinary research, you find it out. The question is, okay, what are you going to do about that? Is there maybe a pill that can restore it, whatever? And then we came up, a little bit with my multidisciplinary background, with the idea, okay, let's try to make a solution for that. And we developed the balance belt, and we developed an artificial balance organ. So, and here you can see the balance belt, and I brought them with me, the newest concept. And for the university, this is fantastic, because this is big business. So this is patented by the university now, and the expectation is that you will sell this like hearing aids. So this is a huge market. You can imagine, so the university will get millions of euros for this. And the idea is very simple. It took 15 years of research, but you have, in this belt, you have small tactile vibrators, and there's a small sensor detecting where gravity is. And if you move too much forward, you feel a vibration here. When you move too much backward, you feel a vibration there. So you feel your orientation in space. It's a little bit like if you just walk like this and you put your hand across the wall, you also get information about where your orientation is. But now the wall walks with you. That's the idea. Okay, and here you can see about 10 years ago, one of the first experiments. This is the drunken sailor with bad balance organs, and this is with the balance belt. Took a lot of research to make it better and better and better. And in a recent study, just half a year ago, we showed that compared to placebo, etc., you can see that the quality of life of people go from 42 to 78%. That's huge. That's a huge effect. And if you ask the patient what changes in their life, they say, I go out again because I was so afraid to walk outside, afraid to fall. Now I go out of my house, I can visit my children again, etc. So that has a huge impact. Okay, but this balance belt doesn't restore your visual acuity or your blurred vision. It only does something with balance. So that's where we started after the balance belt. We started to develop an artificial balance organ. So you can only do that if you have, work together with people from different disciplines, from mechatronics, from electronics, software development, people that know people, how patients are, physiotherapists, etc. So we started to build an artificial balance organ, and in 2012 we were the first in the world to make a balance organ in humans. And we're still working on that. It still take another 5 years before it will be an industrial concept. But here you can see, so you have a motion sensor inside here, and the motion sensor is connected with a processor, and then via the processor you have electrodes that go into the balance organ. So that requires some surgery. If you don't like blood, don't look at the next video. Of course, we opened, the temporal bone here, and we identify where the entrances to the labyrinths are. We open them, we put electrodes in that. And one of the studies that we do in Tomsk is to study the electroconductivity of this temporal bone to understand what are the best electrodes. So we do that, and Maxime is one of my PhDs who is working on that, and Dmitry on the back. So, okay, then you put these electrodes in, and then we can suddenly, via the balance organ, we can control the eyes. So now, if you make a movement with your head, and the motion sensor detects the head movement, the eyes are controlled. So that's what we can test. So we put a person on the chair without balance organs, and the chair is moving and the eyes do not do anything. But now we switch on the artificial balance organ, and you see the eyes move in the opposite direction. So we restore the reflex of this system. And here you see the patient walking. When he stands still, has a perfect vision, but when he starts to walk, his vision goes down because his balance organs do not work. But then we put the artificial balance organ on, and we see that it restores very close to standing still. So, and there are many more things that we did. So basically we have proven that this balance, artificial balance organ can help. And quite substantially. So we think that we can reduce the number of falls quite a lot with the balance belt and the balance organ. So how can you do that? Yeah, only when you work together with many people. Well, you see here also proudly in the middle Tomsk State University, and companies and different institutes, the National Health Institute and MIT. So we have a lot of people, partners that we found and collected to make this project possible. And this is really multidisciplinary. And that only works with people that we want to educate, like in the TIS program. So these are the future people that are much better prepared for doing this kind of research and developments and really solve problems. Not just study it and say, oh, it's interesting. No, to address the problem and make a solution. Now, this program, we tried with some proofs to see, can we maybe try to do this in Tomsk, and let's try to do that with Russian students or Chinese students, any student that is interested in this program, and to participate in an honors program where they use this active learning approach, and also to train our tutors that have to work in this new active learning environment. So we asked Zhenya now to give a presentation by the students